It was still dark outside when I heard the pounding on my front door. I glanced at the clock glowing faintly on my nightstand. 5:02 a.m. No one shows up pounding on a door at that hour unless something is very wrong. I pulled on a sweatshirt with shaking hands and made my way down the hallway, my heartbeat thudding louder with every step. When I opened the door, my neighbor Gabriel Stone stood on my porch. His skin looked drained of color, his chest rising and falling too fast like he'd run the entire length of the street to get here. He didn't waste time on greetings. "Don't go to work today," he said, his voice tight, urgent, almost desperate. "Stay home, please, just trust me." I stared at him, confused and instantly uneasy. Gabriel was the kind of neighbor who nodded politely, collected his mail, and disappeared back into his house. We'd exchanged maybe a dozen words in a year. Seeing him like this, shaken and afraid, felt completely wrong. "What are you talking about?" I asked. "Did something happen?" He shook his head slowly, but his eyes stayed sharp, alert, like he was listening for something behind me. "I can't explain right now," he said. "Just promise me you won't leave the house today, not for any reason." The moment felt unreal. The chill in the air, the faint pink line of sunrise starting to stretch across the sky, and my quiet neighbor standing there like a man bracing for disaster. I swallowed hard. "Gabriel, you're scaring me," I said. "Why shouldn't I go?" He hesitated, then leaned closer, lowering his voice to a whisper. "You'll understand by noon." Before I could ask another question, he stepped back, scanned the street as if checking for witnesses, then turned and walked quickly back to his house without looking over his shoulder. I stood there long after he disappeared, my hand still gripping the doorknob, my thoughts racing. Part of me wanted to laugh it off, tell myself he was confused or unstable. But another part of me, the part that had learned to listen when something felt off, wouldn't let it go. And there was another reason his warning landed so heavily. 3 months ago, my father died. It was sudden. The official cause was a stroke, but in the days leading up to it, he kept trying to tell me something. He said it was important. He said it was about our family. Every time I pressed him, he'd stop himself and promise we'd talk soon. We never did. Since then, strange things had crept into my life. A car with dark windows parked near my driveway for hours at a time. Phone calls from blocked numbers where no one spoke. My younger sister Sophie calling from overseas to ask if I'd noticed anyone new around my house. No one explained anything, but I could feel it. Something was moving quietly around me, deliberate and patient. My name is Alyssa Rowan. I'm 33 years old, a financial analyst who has never missed work unless I was truly sick. I live alone in the house my grandmother left me. My life has always been orderly, predictable, controlled. Until today. Standing there in the doorway, I made a decision based not on fear but logic. If Gabriel was wrong, I'd lose one workday. If he was right, ignoring him could cost me everything. I texted my manager saying I had a personal emergency and stayed home. The hours dragged, every sound felt amplified. The tick of the clock, the hum of the fridge, the wind brushing the windows. By late morning, doubt crept in. Nothing had happened. Gabriel hadn't returned. Maybe I'd overreacted. Then my phone rang. An unknown number. I answered casually, expecting a spam call or maybe work. Instead, a calm official voice said, "Ma'am, this is Officer Taylor with the County Police Department. Are you aware of a critical incident that occurred at your workplace this morning?" My breath caught. "What incident?" His tone shifted slightly. "There was a violent attack at your building. Several employees were injured. We have reason to believe you were present." My body went cold. "That's impossible," I said. "I wasn't there." Silence followed. Then he said, "We have footage of your car entering the garage at 8:02 a.m. Your work ID was used and security reports list you on the third floor before the incident." My knees weakened. Someone had used my identity. Someone wanted me there. I told him I'd been home all morning. There was a pause, then a question that made the room feel smaller. "Can anyone verify that?" I looked around my empty house. "No," I whispered. "I live alone." His voice became formal. "Ms. Rowan, we are required to locate you for your safety and for questioning. Evidence belonging to you was found near the scene." My mind went blank. That's when Gabriel's face flashed in my memory. "Don't go to work today." The officer said units were on their way. The moment the call ended, panic snapped into focus. I locked the doors, closed the blinds, replayed every odd moment from the past weeks. This wasn't coincidence, it was preparation. Then there was a knock, sharp, controlled, not frantic. I stayed silent. Another knock. "Alyssa," a familiar voice said. "It's Gabriel, open the door, we need to talk." I asked how he knew. His answer was calm and terrifying. "Because they're not coming to help you." He told me I was never supposed to wake up in my bed today, that the incident was staged, that I was meant to be blamed. My fear turned cold and clear. I opened the door slowly. Gabriel stepped inside immediately. He said the police would declare my house a crime scene. When I demanded answers, he told me he hadn't moved here by accident. He told me my father asked him to watch over me. I tried to deny it. My father was ordinary. Gabriel shook his head. That was his cover. He said my father had been part of a covert investigation for years, and then he reached into his jacket and pulled out a small black envelope. He left this for you, Gabriel said. I hesitated, then took it, my hands trembling as I opened it. My fingers shook as I unfolded the paper inside. There was a handwritten note. Alyssa, if you are reading this, then what I feared has come to pass. You are not in danger. Because of anything you did, you are in danger because of who you are. There is more to your identity than you know. Gabriel will tell you the rest. Trust him as you once trusted me. Do not surrender yourself if they take you in. You will disappear. Dad, my knees weakened. My father had known. He had been trying to prepare me all those times. He said there are things you're better off not knowing yet. I thought he was being dramatic. Now those words came back to me like warnings from a ghost. Gabriel met my eyes. They're not just framing you, they're reclaiming you. Reclaiming, I repeated, my voice barely above a whisper. You were never just civilian, Gabriel said. Your birth was not a coincidence. Your identity was constructed. Your father uncovered a classified biogenetic program, one tied to prominent families, influential bloodlines. When he refused to cooperate, he became a liability. His death was not natural. You were meant to be eliminated next, but they found a better use for you. My heart thundered. To use me as what? He took a step closer. As a scapegoat. They need narrative that would justify the next phase of their plan, a false flag event, a manufactured tragedy with you as the face of it. Of them all, realization burned through me. Every strange moment, every shadow I had ignored had been leading to this point. So all of this was staged to destroy my life? I asked. Gabriel's gaze was firm. Not just your life, your legitimacy. Once they declare you a national threat, they can seize every file connected to your father's investigation. They can erase the truth he died trying to protect. He reached into his coat again and this time pulled out a metal key card with a red emblem. This is access to a secure storage vault your father used. It contains encrypted files that name the people behind this operation. If you don't reach that vault before they reach you, everything your father died for will be buried forever. I stared at the key card in his hand, then back at the note from my father. My entire life I had believed I was ordinary, replaceable, invisible. Now I understood the truth. I was never invisible. I was never replaceable. I was watched because I was the last piece of a puzzle someone powerful didn't want solved. Suddenly the distant wail of sirens began to echo across the neighborhood. Gabriel looked toward the front window. They're here, he said, but he wasn't afraid, and for the first time since this morning, neither was I. Because fear had something I no longer carried: doubt. I folded my father's letter and placed the key card in my pocket. Then I looked at Gabriel and said, show me where we need to go. He nodded once, and in that moment I crossed the line between the life I had always known and the truth I was born to face. We barely made it to Gabriel's SUV before the first unmarked black vehicles turned the corner and began closing in. On my street, the sirens had stopped. They didn't need them anymore. They weren't coming as law enforcement. They were coming as recovery. Get in, Gabriel ordered, starting the engine. As soon as my door clicked shut, we shot forward, tires screeching. Through the rear window, I saw two men step out of a black sedan, scanning the area. One of them lifted a radio to his mouth, his expression cold and certain, like a man retrieving property, not a person. Property. As we sped down the highway, a strange calmness came over me. Fear had left my body. What remained was clarity. Something inside me had turned, like a key finally matching the right lock. After 20 minutes of silence, Gabriel spoke. There's something you need to see before we reach the vault. Once you see it, you'll understand why they've been watching you your whole life. He reached into his jacket and handed me a tablet. A file was open on the screen labeled Rowan Alyssa, Subject 7B designation. Genomic Asset High Priority Project. Origin Initiative. I scrolled down my pulse quickening as I read gene expression chart, blood markers not found in ordinary humans. A note. Subject exhibits complete immunity to multiple viral strains, potential regenerative blood properties. Subject approved for phase 2 integration. Phase 2. I swallowed hard. What does this mean? Regenerative, immune to what? Gabriel kept his eyes on the road. 20 years ago, your father uncovered a government-backed biogenetics program. They weren't trying to cure diseases. They were trying to create a new class of human beings, people with specific immune advantages who could survive outbreaks, chemical exposure, warfare. I stared at the screen, light flickering across my face as the truth began to settle like ash. My father was involved in this. I asked. He was never meant to be. Gabriel said he stumbled across it when he discovered medical inconsistencies in your early childhood records. He found samples of your blood in places he didn't authorize. He realized you were being studied without his knowledge. He tried to pull you from the program, but that wasn't an option. The highway lights flashed past us like white comets. I could barely process the words. Me, a subject, a project, a target. Gabriel continued, his tone firm but controlled. Your father leaked the existence of the program to a federal oversight board. The board ordered the project shut down, but instead of ending it, the people at the top erased the investigation and everyone who knew. Everyone, including my father. I whispered. Gabriel nodded. They made it look like a stroke, but he was poisoned with a neurotoxin developed by the same program. His death was a message. I closed my eyes. For the first time, I didn't see my father as a quiet man with secrets. I saw him as someone who sacrificed everything to protect his child from the world she never knew she was born into. They planned to retrieve you on your 33rd birthday, Gabriel said, but something changed. Your profile was accelerated. Your blood test last month triggered a system alert. That's why they staged the attack at your workplace today. If you had gone, you would either be dead or disappeared. Dead or erased. And now I ask, they will frame you publicly, Gabriel said. Declare you a domestic threat asset. Recovery protocol. I gripped the tablet tightly. But why frame me? Why not just take me quietly? Because they don't just want your body, Gabriel answered. They want control over the narrative. If the world believes you're dangerous, no one will question what they do with you. We turned off the main road and onto a forest path leading toward a remote facility. The trees grew dense. The colder my heartbeat steadied. I was no longer in the life I knew. I was in the one I was born for. As we approached what looked like an abandoned bunker hidden beneath an overgrown hill, Gabriel parked the SUV and turned to me. You have one last decision, Alyssa, he said, his voice quiet. Once you walk inside, there's no going back. You know everything. Your father died to protect the truth about what you are. And once you know it, they will never stop hunting you. I met his eyes. I've been hunted my whole life without knowing why. I said, it's time I found out what's inside me that they're so desperate to control. Gabriel nodded. I stepped out of the vehicle. The door of the bunker groaned open as if waking from decades of silence, and in that moment I knew this wasn't the end of my life. It was the beginning of the real one. The bunker door sealed shut behind us with a deep metallic thud that echoed through the chamber like the heartbeat of something ancient. The air was cold, untouched, as though this place had been waiting not just for anyone but specifically for me. Gabriel moved with certainty, entering a long corridor lined with steel safety doors. I followed him in silence, each step heavier than the last. The deeper we went, the more a strange sensation started building in my chest. Not fear, not anxiety, but recognition. My body knew this place even if my mind did not. We stopped before a vault door with A circular emblem engraved into the steel, the Rowan family crest. My father had once shown me a drawing of it, telling me it belonged to distant ancestors. Now I knew the truth. It wasn't heritage, it was designation. Gabriel motioned to a small panel on the wall. Your DNA will open this vault, he said. I hesitated. How do you know? Because your father told me, he replied. He said the vault will only recognize his bloodline and you are the last. The last. It struck me that I wasn't just unlocking a door, I was unlocking the final secret of my family's existence. I pressed my palm to the scanner. A pulse of light ran along my skin. The vault emitted a soft chime, then slowly rotated open. Cold air spilled out, and with it came a scent that made my chest tighten. Old paper, memory, and something else. Home. The room inside was circular and lined with shelves of black boxes, each labeled with coded numbers. At the center was a glass pedestal, and on that pedestal, sealed inside protective casing, was a single leather-bound journal, my father's journal. Hands trembling, I lifted the casing and opened to a bookmarked page. There was a letter addressed to me. His handwriting. My daughter, if you are reading this, then the lies surrounding your life have finally been stripped away. But what I need you to know above all else is this: you were never an accident, you were never property, you were the first successful proof that human immunity can evolve naturally. They did not create you, you were born with what they have spent decades trying to manufacture. It is not what was done to you that makes you powerful, it's what you already are. You are the future they fear. I closed my eyes as tears blurred the ink. My father didn't just die to protect me, he died to protect what I represented, not a weapon, a hope. On the next page was a final instruction. There is a decision only you can make. At the far end of this vault lies the master control terminal. One command will give them what they've always wanted: your compliance. The other will release every classified document tied to the Rowan initiative to the public. Once you choose, the world will be changed forever. I looked at Gabriel. He didn't try to influence me. He simply said, your father trusted you to decide, not as a subject, but as a human being. My legs felt heavy as I approached the control terminal. 2 buttons glowed softly under glass. Acquisition protocol signaling. Surrender revelation protocol. Triggering public exposure. If I chose the first, I might survive, but at the cost of my freedom and the truth. If I chose the second, I would make myself the enemy of powerful people who had already killed to hide the secret. I pressed the second button. A low hum filled the chamber. A countdown appeared on the screen. Data began flooding onto secure channels preset by my father. Evidence, names, financial trails, all streaming to global media outlets. Encrypted but traceable. There was no turning back. Gabriel exhaled. It's done. You just changed the world. Suddenly alarms blared. They had found us. Our time was up, but I was no longer afraid. For the first time in my life, I wasn't hiding behind what I thought was safety. I was standing in the light of truth. We have to leave now, Gabriel said urgently as we rushed toward the exit tunnel. My father's last words echoed in my mind. You were not born to be controlled, you were born to reveal what control really is. We emerged into the cold night. Helicopters thundered above, searchlights cut through the trees, but I no longer saw them as hunters. I saw them as the first wave of a dying light, and I was no longer running from them. I was leading the fight against them, because I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was becoming what my father had always believed I could be. Not a subject, not a victim, but the beginning of something entirely new. If you believe the truth should never be hidden, no matter how powerful the people trying to bury it are, make sure you subscribe right now and comment where you're watching from, because this story is not the end.